Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story, we take a trip down memory lane, but with a brand new 2023 recording, as we start to get back into the David Holley sagas of twists and turns and terror. Of course, as ever though, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled Hostile Intent Redemption. Let's get straight into that. My name is Curtis Grant. Most of my friends call me simply Kurt. I'm a freelance photojournalist. I enjoy photographing weddings, birthdays, concerts, and famous people. I don't have time for nonsense. What do I call nonsense? Oh, that would be people wanting me to take photos of ghosts, goblins, and other worldly creatures, like werewolves, lichens if you wish, vampires, Bigfoot, Mothman, etc., etc., etc. I don't believe in them. Believe me, the people I work for are, generally, pretty straightforward. No nonsense, no funny business. Or so I had been led to believe. I received a call from the managing editor of a major news magazine I did a lot of work for. Robert Half wasn't the kind of guy who just called to shoot the breeze with you. If Robert called, he had an assignment for you, and it usually paid well. Robert began by asking general questions about how I was doing. Was I seeing anyone of late? Did I still refuse to believe in Bigfoot? Believe in Bigfoot? What the bloody hell did Robert mean? He knew I not only thought Bigfoot was an urban legend, but he knew I thought the Patterson film was a complete fabrication. I asked him why he would feel compelled to ask me such a question. Because, Robert said, there's a major Bigfoot expedition about to begin in the Kiamichi Mountains in southeast Oklahoma. And the magazine wants you to go along and document it in still photos and digital video. You're kidding, right? I'm afraid not, Kurt. Do you know Keith Sampson? Sure. He's the guy who owns the magazine. Pays me for my photos. That will be him. Ever hear of Valerie Sampson? Party girl. Sampson's daughter, if I remember correctly. Why? Oh, wait a friggin' minute. Don't tell me. Daddy's footing the entire bill for the expedition. His daughter has a new boy toy who's leading it. The old man wants a bona fide skeptic to document the entire party. And he chose you, old buddy. Look, Rob, it's not that I don't appreciate the offer, but you're getting $10,000 just to be the magazine's on-site rep. A credit card with a $25,000 credit limit. Plus, if, for some reason, you actually get video footage or a great still photo, nothing shaky or out of focus, the magazine will buy it for $100,000 and allow you the 40% ownership. Not to mention, we're buying all your photos. But mainly I'm going to be babysitting the girl. Keep her out of trouble. That about sums it up. I was stunned. No one puts out that kind of money for a Bigfoot expedition. Kurt, do you own a gun? Yeah, I have a 9mm and a 12-gauge shotgun. Do you know how to shoot? Hell yeah, I know how to shoot. Why do I need a gun? You own a tent, sleeping bag? Yes, Robert, I have all this. Why do I need a gun? You'll find out when you get to a town in McCurtain County, Oklahoma, called Broken Bow. Someone, probably Kyle Booth, will meet you in the parking lot at the local Walmart. He'll be driving a 2004 Red Ford F-150 with a sign on the door that says, 2018 No Nonsense Expedition. Cute. He'll meet you at 9 o'clock in the morning of the 10th. You have 5 days to get there. Your money and the credit card will be special delivery by 7 o'clock tonight. I'll start packing. Later that day I received my cash and the credit card. I loaded my cameras, the camping equipment, and my weapons into the car and left Atlanta, Georgia that very night. I kept telling myself that this was all a mistake. But the money and the terms, they were acceptable. If there was such a thing as Bigfoot, I was going to photograph it and video it. I stayed the night of the 9th in a motel located near a casino on Highway 37 north of Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I was worn out, and so I wasn't even interested in playing the slots. Instead, I found a burger place, bought myself a couple of hamburgers and a 6-pack of Coors Light, and went back to my motel room. While the television was on, I wasn't paying much attention. Instead, I had hooked up my laptop and was trying to give myself a crash course in Bigfoot research. I read encounter story on top of encounter story. I looked at the out of focus and blurry photographs. I listened to some guy named Dobson brag about how many times he'd captured a Bigfoot family on video and game cameras. And to the trained eye, I could tell Mr. Dobson believed no one could tell a Photoshop photo from a photo which had not been doctored. And then I began reading an account written by a 60-plus-year-old man and another geriatric researcher who claimed 2 years before that they had survived the Bigfoot massacre in the same area I was supposed to be headed into in the morning. Now, the story did intrigue me, and for those of you who may or may not be interested, here is the general synopsis of the incident from the Bigfoot blog, Scared Sasquatch Stories. Bigfoot is alive and well in the Kiamichi Mountains. The creatures are bigger, badder and bolder than those living in adjoining states. Ask Major James Fuller, U.S. Army retired, and Rick Murphy, Fuller's fellow survivor. Fuller and Murphy claim on the night of February 13, 2014, the camp near Holley Creek Landing was attacked by several giant, ape-like creatures fitting the general description of Bigfoot. 6 members out of the 9-man party of Bigfoot researchers all but disappeared. Fuller claims they were killed and their remains taken by the cannibalistic creatures. Murphy was found the following day squatting next to Fuller, who sustained many bruises and abrasions. Several members of the Bigfoot community have suggested Fuller and Murphy might have done away with their colleagues and staged a massacre story. Law enforcement officers say while both Fuller and Murphy are persons of interest, no evidence exists to charge them with a capital crime. Now, the blog was full of hate-filled comments, and to be honest, I was feeling a bit sorry for the 2 guys. One woman from the Dallas, Texas area had commented that Fuller was a loose cannon, and she wasn't surprised. Murphy, she stated, was simply Fuller's mentally challenged alibi. And of course, when you don't believe in Bigfoot to begin with, you don't really care what some folks are saying about other folks. Had I taken a look at the list of people on expedition, I would have seen 2 names on the list, which would have given me more of a reason to dig deeper. The names of James Fuller and Rick Murphy. James Fuller looked over the lake. Hadn't changed much in 2 years since he and Rick had been here. Same area they camped in. Same mountains surrounded them. He watched a couple of expedition team members sitting around their campfire, drinking coffee and wondering if they were safe, with 2 guys in the midst who were either cowards at best or murderers who had managed to avoid murder charges. Murphy strolled up beside him and handed him a cup of coffee. You figure they're talking about us. Huh, you can bet on it. Jimbo, Major. And Fuller smiled. It was rare for him to smile much, but Rick deserved the smile. That's Jim. Jimbo or James Rick. No rank out here. Yes, sir. What do you think they're saying to each other? Probably trying to figure out who we're going to kill first. Murphy nodded his head. You hungry? I scrambled some eggs and fried some sausage. Yeah, I'm hungry. Let's eat. The 2 older men sat beside their fire and filled their plates with eggs and sausages. They watched with interest one of the young men at the fire get up, stretch, and refill his coffee. The guy's name was Chance. That's the only name they had heard in the 2 days they'd been here. Well, he was smart, a good-looking kid, probably just out of college, full of thought to himself. He listened to a couple of his speeches since they'd been here. He was second in command, or so he thought. He made it plain his job was to hunt and harvest a Bigfoot, not to babysit 2 60-something-year-old geezers who may or may not have killed and disposed of their team members 2 years prior. The Chance strolled up to the campground and stood looking down at the 2 seated men. He smirked and he said, just in case you get any crazy ideas, boys, I won't hesitate to bust a cap up in your wrinkled butts if y'all try anything cute. Understood, champ. My name's Chance. C-H-A-N-C-E. Not Champ. Sorry. Won't make that mistake again. Chance reached into his pocket and fished a cigarette out of the package. He lit it and squatted beside the fire. You know Carl ain't here this morning. He went to pick up some more dead weight. Guy named Curtis Grant. You ever heard of him? No. Chance spat into the fire. I can't figure out why you're here, Fuller. Him? And he motioned towards Murphy. I can figure out. He's here because of you. I can't figure you out. Why are you here? Redemption. Isn't that right, Major Fuller? Valerie Sampson stood quietly behind Chance. Fuller and Murphy both rose to their feet. Rick removed his cap and Fuller tipped his. Miss Sampson, I'm here because 6 of our friends disappeared. Probably died a horrible death. Maybe, no, were eaten. Rick and I were labeled liars, hoaxers, and yes, even murderers. I'm here because I want to redeem my reputation, mine and Rick's. I'd like to find some remains, give some families some kind of closure. I know you think you have to babysit Rick and myself, but don't do us any friggin' favors, champ. Chance jumped to his feet. He lunged at Fuller and stopped short when he heard the sound of a pump shotgun being racked. Rick Murphy held a 12-gauge pointed at Chance's midsection. He spoke softly. Now, boy, you're about to let that short fuse and snotty attitude get you into a world of trouble. Back away and we'll forget any of this ever happened. By the way, Chance, the Major calls a lot of folks champ. And Kyle Booth was on time to pick me up. He got out the pickup truck and walked over to my car. Kirk Grant? Kyle Booth, I take it. He nodded and smiled at me. He asked if I needed anything before we got on the road, and I told him that I was good. Holley Creek, he said, was still several miles away. Once we left the highway and the dilapidated MT, Herman convenience store, we'd be headed about 10 miles off the pavement, travelling on gravel and blacktop roads. He told me there were places that we drew closer to the lake, in the old state park grounds. I might see anything crossing the road in front of us. This, he gestured with his arms and hands, was Bigfoot country. I smiled. Hell, his girlfriend's daddy was paying for this, and I was here to represent daddy. The money was too good to turn down. We drove northward, passing through a little spot on the road called Ho Chi Town. The original settlement was several hundred feet under the surface of the lake. As we drove, I watched majestic mountains rising in the distance. I've been virtually all over the world, and I'd never seen anything as pretty. And Carl gave a right turn signal and made a turn. The Mount Herman store was as he described it, and so were the roads. 10 miles never seems very far to drive. However, the 10 miles I was now driving seemed to become 30, or so it seemed. We passed homes which were flanked by old, retired school buses. A few had old men sitting on the front porch, sharpening long-bladed knives, who slowly raised a hand in greeting as we passed by. I felt myself reaching into my soft-sided pistol case to ensure I did have protection should I need it. You want to know what I was thinking? I couldn't get visions of the movie Wrong Turn out of my mind. Dear Lord, I prayed, how much farther was it to this campsite? The trees hung over the road, shading everything. If there were creatures like Bigfoot, I really could imagine them watching me from the shadows and shade of the surrounding forest. We began to slow down even more when I saw a sign which announced that we were entering Holley Creek Landing. I did a double take and read the admonishment. No loaded firearms. Strange, I thought. What good would be an unloaded firearm to you? I shivered and remembered some of the people I'd seen as we drove in. I'll be damned if I carry an unloaded gun around down here, I thought. There might not be any such thing as Bigfoot, but there sure as hell were a bunch of inbred mountain people. I will regret my judgment before long. Not only were these mountain people aware of all the creatures one expects to find in a forest, but they knew of a few that secular science said didn't exist. Carl Booth pulled up into the front of the cabin-style tent. An attractive brown-haired woman stepped out of the tent and met him with a kiss. This had to be Valerie Sampson. She strolled over to my car as I was getting out. Mr. Grant, hi, I'm Valerie Sampson. I see Daddy sent the best photographer and videographer in Atlanta. Her smile, it was infectious. I had to smile back. It's my pleasure to be here. and she had a way of looking you in the eye and making you very nervous and self-conscious. No, it's not. You're here because Daddy wants to see this fail. Kurt, may I call you Kurt, or do you prefer Curtis? Kurt is fine. My daddy knows if we're successful, Carl and I will probably get engaged, and then married. He couldn't stand it if he lost anything, especially me. I didn't know what to say to her, and so I mentioned the drive-in. Oh, you saw the teehees? That's nice. You've probably seen the drive-through tonight, and it kind of noisy. I'll be honest, I didn't know what to expect. I suppose I expected some form of hospitality from the other members of this expedition, but no one even offered to suggest where I might pitch my tent. Looking around the camp, I spotted an old Ford cargo van. No tent, so I figured whoever was camped there might allow me to pitch my little 3-man tent. I saw 2 older men sitting around their fire. I walked over, and both rose from their camp chairs. Good morning, gentlemen. My name's Kurt Grant. I work for Miss Sampson's father's magazine. Both men shook hands with me. I looked at the older man and smiled. Sir, did anyone ever tell you that you have Lee Van Cleef eyes? Yeah, who in God's name is Lee Van Cleef? The other man laughed and said, as he grasped my outstretched hand. Forgive Rick. He's just outspoken. I'm James Fuller. Call me Jim. Fuller? There was a guy named Fuller. Yeah, that's me. This is Richard Murphy. Call him Rick. Maybe I'll just leave you gentlemen alone and... no need to feel uneasy. We know what's been said, been written about, and what folks think. Please, sit down. Coffee's hot, and if you'd rather have a soft drink, well, we got that too. No beer? Not when we're in the field. A soft drink. Cola, if you have it. Rick reached into my ice chest and fished out a cola. I opened it up and took a sip. Fuller pushed his old grey hunting hat back away from his forehead. He looked at Murphy and made a nodding motion towards my car, and Murphy walked over to my car. What's he doing? He's bringing a tent over. Might as well camp with us. Really not wanted here by most, and I'm guessing you're not here because you want to be. Here. No, I'm here because I'm getting paid some big money. Are you sure my camping here isn't going to cause you any hard feelings? Not from me or Rick. We sleep in the van. Do you have a walkie-talkie? If in the middle of the night, I'll call you until to get your butt inside the van. Don't ask why. Just do it. I was taken aback by his candor. I assured him I would follow his directions. I thanked him and was going to begin setting up my tent, but Rick was finishing up for me. I thanked him, and he just looked at me with those Lee Van Cleef eyes and mumbled, no big deal. Welcome. Well, this is not Jim Fuller's first rodeo, folks. And Cowboy paused and looked straight at Chance. He's here because he was asked to come. Yes, he wants some closure for the families who lost loved ones here. He lost a cousin up here that night. And so, yes, he's after closure and redemption. Kay Adams said he planned the whole thing, that he murdered everyone and disposed of their bodies. And in 2 years, Chance, no one, and I mean no one, has ever run across any remains. Kay Adams wasn't here. She didn't know anyone that was here. What's she doing after speaking engagements in Bigfoot circles and passing off what guys like Jim Fuller discovered as her own? Bottom line, folks, Fuller and Murphy stay. There was a great deal of grumbling, but no one was willing to oppose Booth Van Sampson. I filmed every conversation for the next 2 days. Fuller and Murphy would leave early in the morning and return late in the afternoon. It gets dark in these mountains early in the winter. I had been taking a stroll down an old firebreak trail on the 3rd day. It was beginning to get dark. I was aware I shouldn't have left camp alone, but it just felt like I needed some space. I paused near a huge oak tree beside the trail, and I began to hear stealthy footfalls in the forest behind me. I started to call out when a hand covered my mouth from behind. My eyes grew wide with anticipation as I thought a teehee had come to kill me. When it was Fuller, he put his finger over his lips to warn me not to speak. He pointed towards the area the footsteps were coming from. And suddenly, he pulled me behind the great oak and whispered, "I'm sorry to scare you, Kurt, but you have company." And before I could say anything, he pointed back down the trail I had just walked up. A gigantic figure, easily 9 feet tall, had been slowly stalking me. My mouth dropped open. I fumbled for my 9mm, and Fuller again whispered, "Don't be a fool. Your 9mm isn't going to stop that monster. Look, it's climbing the hill. It probably wants to get a look at the camp." As we watched it, it turned its head facing a bit to the south and yelped like a coyote 3 times. Then it came off the hill and began walking back the way it had came. Fuller motioned for me to follow him in silence. I've heard of woodsmen, military men and others who could move without detection, but Fuller, I was the first I'd ever had to observe. He was patient, letting me lead while he brought up the rear. I knew now there were monsters, but I just wanted to get back to camp. Then I stepped out into an open area with tents and trucks and automobiles, and we were back in camp. Fuller brushed past me with a purpose. He shouted for Booth to have a big portable generator started and to have all the big lights lighting up the hillsides. Booth asked me what was going on, and that Fuller was acting like a wild man. I told him what I had seen, how Fuller had saved me, and I asked if they had heard a coyote yelp. They had. Fuller walked over to his own camp and helped Murphy start their own generator, positioning lights, and had Murphy cover windows and windshields with black plastic on the inside. I watched from the main camp Rick gather my gear and sleeping bags and toss them in the van. Fuller was expecting company, and he wanted to be prepared. "12:37 a.m. The fire was down in both camps. The generators were no longer providing light. Mostly everyone was asleep in their tents, but not James Fuller, Rick Murphy, and yours truly. I sat in the back of the van, the only doors locked and secure. Fuller and Murphy had made small peepholes and had set up a dash cam to observe the main camp and behind their van. There was a slight bump on the side of the van and a low growl. I looked up to see Fuller calmly turning on his ignition key, allowing the dash cam to power up. "Damn, good way. What's what you call it? Face eater. They're mean and nasty, very aggressive. Nothing like a normal Bigfoot. These things, they kill for fun. Well, it's been said they eat their victims. They're awfully big, aren't they? 10 feet and larger. Weight runs maybe, half a ton. How many you count, Jimbo? 7, Rick. That's all I can see on the monitor." I interjected. "What are they here for?" "Food. You, me, anyone over there." "These what took your friends a couple of years ago?" "Probably. Either them," he jerked his thumb towards the video monitor, "or Dogman." "Dogman? Werewolves. God, what have I gotten myself into?" Jim Fuller looked at me for a moment. "A bad religious experience, Kurt. A bad religious experience." "Jimbo, someone's going to come out of that tent to the left of Miss Valerie's tent." I know. I was excited. We gotta warn him. But there was no time. Chance had unzipped the tent and had stepped out to answer nature's urgent call. And as he emerged, 2 giant hands grabbed him by his shoulders, lifted him up, and literally bit his face off. There had been no time for him to scream for help. Another Gugway was standing in front of Valerie and Kyle's tent. Jim turned his headlights on, and the creature turned and charged the van. "Hold on to something, guys. This isn't going to be pleasant." The creature moved with unnatural speed. Fuller strapped himself in, cranked his engine, and he too began to move. A shot rang out and Fuller slammed on his brakes in time to see on the dashcam monitor Valerie Sousan firing a .30-06 Remington and slamming shot after shot into the monster's back. And, as it turned to charge her, Kyle Booth was standing there firing a 7mm Magnum. Both were taking a toll on the creature. Other creatures were ripping tents apart. Men were screaming, but the gunshots were having an impact. They were moving back towards the hillsides to regroup when a roar of a pickup could be heard coming into the park. Men, old men, young men, teens piled out and poured, led into the savage creatures. Fuller, Murphy and I joined in the fight. Jim Fuller advanced towards a creature easily 12 feet tall, pouring his .30-06 rounds from his Marlin lever-action rifle. Murphy was using a shotgun, and his last round lit up the night sky as he fired the only Dragon's Fire shotgun shell. But the Gugwe was toast. And then they were gone. The old man I had watched sharpening his long blade the day I had arrived saw me and asked, "You all right, young fella?" And I nodded my head and stammered out, "Yes, thank you." He turned to Fuller. "Major, sorry we didn't get here in time to see the one who died." "I wasn't able to help either, Zeb, but we took a few of them out." "So, you okay now? Feel redeemed?" "I will be, and I'll be able to sleep again if we can get these things examined before Uncle Samuel seizes them." I cleared my throat. Maybe I can help out. Let's film it now. Crank the generators up and I'll film and photograph the bodies. Mr. Zeb can answer some questions on video. Then he and his people can ride or dispose of the bodies. Zeb spat a long stream of tobacco. "Works for me. Major Jim, do it." I began putting my equipment together, but I noticed Fuller covering Chance's body. He didn't like me. He didn't like anyone except himself, Mr. Fuller. So, Valerie, what are you going to tell your father? The truth. Mr. Zeb is going to give me something I can put on ice and take back with us to Atlanta. Fuller looked deeply into the young woman's eyes. "What kind of trophy are you taking?" "The head of the one who nearly killed me, Carl, and who might have killed you." I don't know when everyone left, probably before daylight. We listened to ungodly howls, screams, and roars all night. Valerie Sampson got the head of one she'd helped kill. Carl Booth got a young trophy wife. The Teehees got rid of several savage monsters. And I got a lot, and I mean a lot, of money. A best-selling novel, which I had to fictionalize. And Rick Murphy, he got his vindication. And James Fuller, he got redemption. Wow. Suddenly another one. Wow. Absolutely intriguing and chest-pounding as ever. And I hope you guys sank your teeth into that one as much as I and David. Of course, a huge thank you to David for his fantastic craft. And I really hope you enjoyed this updated 2023 version. Well, guys and girls as ever, you know the drill. Please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. Now if you can pen a story packing that much punch, or just want to get in touch with me, then please do so at the contact email, which is, as on screen, contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. I hope you all had a fantastic start to the week, whether you're working or studying, or perhaps you're a long-distance driver hitting the back roads in the Ozarks, or even possibly the Kiamichi Mountains. Whatever it is that you do, I hope you're enjoying it and you're giving it your all, and you're trying to stay fit and focused. But above all, guys, remember, be safe, not sorry.